Many years ago, my husband and I lived in this little community right along the Hudson River. It was this beautiful little community. It had 3-story townhomes on it with little rooftop patios. It was just fabulous. And it had a clubhouse and a little store where you could buy food, but it was kind of over the top, and we actually called it La La Land because we thought it was so crazy. But in La La Land, I used to take a morning walk every morning, and I loved it because you could walk all along the Hudson River, and I could watch beautiful sunrises or listen to the ice flows in the wintertime. But to do my walk, I had to walk up and down these alleys and down little streets and around the parking lots because we were squished up right against the river there. And part of my walk took me over a little pedestrian bridge to a parking lot, a large parking lot, where people would park and take a ferry across the Hudson and then get on a commuter train to go into work in New York City. So I'm walking over this little pedestrian bridge this one morning. It was a very dark morning, kind of like now when you get up and it's still dark out, and you get out of work and it's still dark out. But as I'm coming down the path, a car comes slowly down the access road into the parking lot. The car pulls up behind one of the few vehicles there that early in the morning, and a young woman gets out, and she closes the door and she's locking the door. And before she can even turn around, another car comes flying into that parking lot and parks right behind her. The driver's side door pops open and a man gets out, and within 3 strides, he's standing right in front of her. She now has her back up against her car. There's a car in front of her, there's a car behind her, and he's right in her face. She has no place to go. And it happened so quickly, so fast, I didn't even realize that I had stopped in my tracks. It's one of those things when you know it's not good. You know there's danger, and everything about you goes, what do I do? Should I run away? Should I go in and help? And my usual response is I just freeze. And as I stood there watching this, I could tell right away that he was in control of the situation. He was doing all the talking. And I thought, well, what can I do here? What can I do? There was no one around. It was too early in the morning. Nothing's open. There's nothing there anyways but a dock and a parking lot. And I didn't have my phone on me, so I thought, okay, I could go home and make a call, but I didn't want to leave her there by herself in that parking lot. And I thought, what else could I do? I thought, well, maybe I could say something, right? Like, hey, what's going on? Everybody okay? And I thought, I don't know if he has a weapon. I don't know if the situation would have been worse if I said something. So I decided the only thing I could do was to be there, to keep walking, and to hopefully let her know, and him know, that I was there, that I was witnessing what was going on. And so I started slowly walking. And I was going to walk around the perimeter of this parking lot like I did every morning. So I went straight ahead, and that took me right behind his back. Now, they weren't close enough that I could hear every word he was saying, but I could tell by the tone of his voice, by the hands, gesticulating, and his shoulders up around his ears. And she's just standing perfectly still, staring straight ahead, basically right into his chest. So I walked behind them, and I hoped for sure at that time, willing her to see me so that she would know she was not alone, that there was somebody there with her. And I kept walking, and as I made the first turn, that was where I hoped that he would see me, through his peripheral vision. I thought if he sees me, he'll step back. He'll go, oh, someone's here, I better not say anything or keep this behavior up. But he didn't. He kept on going. He either didn't see me or just didn't care. As I started making that third turn, coming back towards them, I suddenly saw him thrust his hand in front of her. And she hesitated. And then she dropped her keys into the palm of his hand. And he closed his fingers around her and took a fist and said a few more words to her, and then strode away to his car just like he'd come in, slammed the door, and drove out of there, fast and furious. I think she and I both let out a deep breath at that moment. She seemed to kind of collect herself and turn and started walking towards the dock. And that's when our paths were going to finally cross. And as we got close, we were a few feet from one another. And she looked into my eyes. She looked up and looked into my eyes, and I looked at her and I said, "Are you okay?" And she took a moment, very brief. She said, "I'm fine." She looked back down at the ground and continued walking. And as cars started streaming into the parking lot at that point, I noticed that the ferry was now making its way back across the river. She was waiting at the dock for it, and I walked home to La La Land. I have thought about her for years, and I've always wondered, how did she get on that boat? How did she get on that crazy commuter train with all those people and get to work and try and do her job all the time thinking, yeah, this is normal, this is okay. Or also thinking, how am I going to get home tonight? Does she even want to go home tonight? Who's on the other side of that door? And are there kids? I thought about him too. You know, what in his life had brought him to that point that he could treat somebody in that way? And I thought about my own actions, all the woulda, coulda, shoulda, that I could have done something differently. What more could I have done? Any good storyteller will tell you that when you tell a story, a really well-told story, you want to have a beginning and a middle and an end. And that the end should circle back around to where you started, that you should tie up all the loose ends, kind of like a gift. You should even tie it up with a bow, like even if the bow is messy or ugly. The problem with my story and so many others is there is no ending yet. So I can only hope and wish that anyone who is experiencing any kind of domestic violence, who's hearing these stories, will find the courage within themselves to reach out, you know, for organizations like this, and that there are people there who care about you, so that you can get to a safe place and reclaim yourself. Because I want you to remember that your story does not define you. Your story informs us.